everyone, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, you're welcome. I appreciate you. Kindly click on the subscribe button, like, share, comments, and let others also encourage others to engage on the video. If you're a returning subscriber, you are also welcome. Thank you for coming back. Please like the video, share so that others can also benefit from it. Today I'm going to be showing us how to cut the male kaftan trouser. The fabric I'm using is a cashmere fabric and is 4 yards. I'll be using this fabric to cut both the top and the trouser, but this video is basically for the trouser. The next video is going to be about the top, how I cut the top. So the trouser is going to have an elastic band, all around elastic band. If you want to see how I make half elastic band, that is, the elastic band is just at the back, then you can go to my previous tutorial, but this one is an all-round elastic band on the waist. So the top is also going to be a short hand kaftan top, but like I said, this video is only focusing on the trouser, so it won't be the video won't be too lengthy, so you can check my next video. Straight into the tutorial. The next thing we're going to be doing is folding our fabric into 2 layers. This portion is the front part of the trouser. I'm going to be displaying the measurements that are needed on the screen. So you fold into 2. This is the right side, this is the wrong side. So you fold the wrong side because this is where our choking is going to be. Whatever we mark, this is where it's going to be. I'm not using a pattern paper. I'm going to be cutting purely on the fabric. So ensure that you have a flat surface, fold into 2, and then we'll begin our marking. So the measurements we need for our trouser: we need the trouser waist, we need the waist, the hips, we need the crouch depth, we need the crouch length, we need the knee circumference, the ankle circumference, and then the thigh circumference. Those are the measurements that we need for our trouser. So now let's get straight right into the tutorial. So here at the top part of our folding, we are going to mark 1 inch, and then because it's an elastic band trouser, I'm going to be cutting the band together with the bodies of the trouser. So I'll be using a measurement of 4 inches. So I'm going to mark another 4 inches here because I'll be folding it over. If you get what I mean, I'll be folding it over for the band, for the elastic band. By the time we get into it, you understand what I mean. So the next 4 inches, after doing that, then we now begin to mark the trouser measurements. Because we have marked 4 inches here, we'll mark half of the 4 inch is 2 inches. So because we are going to fold it over, this 2 inch is where our actual measurement starts. So I'm going to be starting the length of the trouser from the half of that 4 inches that we have used for our waist band. Because like I said, by the time we fold it over, it means that we'll be getting 2 on the outside, 2 inches on the inside. Do you get what I mean? That's why we need to start from here, because it's actually part of the trouser length. So from here now, we now mark the trouser length all the way to the bottom part of our fabric. My trouser length is 38.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 38.5 inches here. I'll mark 38.5 inches here. After marking this 38.5 inches, I'm going to be giving an allowance of 2.5. So 1, 2.5. So 2.5 inches for folding. Then once that is done, we'll roll it out so that we know we know the lines that we are dealing with. So I'm just going to do a straight marking using my ruler. And then same here, straight marking here as well on that 2 inches line, not the 4 inch, remember. On the 2 inches line, remember that we came down by half an inch here. So why we came down by half an inch here is because, you know, the front part of the trouser is always lower, many times lower than the back of the trouser. So the back of the trouser comes on top, so you can sit comfortably on the bum, and then the front part of the trouser is a bit lower, so you can sit comfortably on the waist. That's why we're going in by 1 inch. So on this 1 inch, we'll just slant. We will slant. Let's mark the 1 inch so that we can see what we are doing. We'll just slant it towards slant it a bit towards the waist, just to give that curve shape. So this is where we'll mark our crouch. This is the waist. This is one of the waists resting on the pelvic. So we'll slant it slightly like that, and this, after slanting it, this is what we have. This is what we have. Remember, we are not slanting out of the 2 inches. We're only slanting from the ½ inch on top here. So the slant goes this way up to the edge. So now the next thing to do is to get our crouch length. For the crouch length, usually we use the hips circumference divided by 4. My hip circumference is 46.5. So the crouch length, the crouch depth is going to be 11.5 inches. That's 11.6, I mean, sorry, 11.6, it's 633 or something. So this is what we have here. But because I want to give more room to my, because it's a senator trouser, and I want to give more room for comfortability. It's not a fitted pants, so I'm going to increase it. I'm going to increase it by 1 extra inch. So that will be here. Yeah, that is it. So this is the length that we are using. This length is what we are using. So now we rate. This is our crouch. So this is the depth. This is the depth. This is length. On this length now, on this length, crouch length line, that's crouch length. Let me just mark it like that. This is the waistline. This is waistline. This is a crouch line. So on this length now, on this line, I'm going to go up. This is my own method. I'm going to go up by 2 inches. On these 2 inches where I will mark my 2 inches is where I'll mark my hip. So this is where I'll mark my hip line. So we have 3 lines now: waistline, hip line, crouch line. The next thing we'll do is to get our waist measurements on the waistline. My waist, the waist circumference I'm working with is 40. So remember, we're working with our measurements divided by 4. That is what we are using to mark. So I'm going to mark 40 divided by 4. That is 10 inches. So I'm going to mark the 10 inches here. I'll mark the 10 inches here, and then I will add an extra 1.5. No, sorry, before doing that, I made a mistake. So sorry, please. Before doing that, we are going to shape our trouser. So by shaping our trouser, we come in by 1 inch on the waistline. 1 inch on the waistline. Then from this 1 inch, that's when we'll mark our waist circumference. So this is 10. I'm marking 10. Then my extra 1.5 inches. So that is what we have there. Then on the hip line, our hips is 46.5. That's 11.6 inches. So mark it here. Then our 1.5 inch. 1.5 inch. So for my crouch length, you know, this is the depth. Let me know the depth now. This is the depth. This is the depth. This is the length. For the crouch length, remember, for the crouch depth, we use our hips divided by 4 to get the depth, and then I added an extra inch for ease. But for the length, I'm going to be adding I'm also going to be adding like an extra. So this is 11.6. Let's by the time we had our, so exactly what we have here. But I'm going to be adding 2 extra inches. 2 extra inches for ease. So meaning that we have our crouch extension on this line. So in total, our crouch extension line is 15.5. So the next thing to do is to rule it out. The next thing we do is to rule it out. But before we rule it out, on this crouch extent, on this waistline, I'm going to come out by half. Come out by half an inch. Remember, this is our extra inch. We'll come out by half an inch. So coming out by half an inch, then I will now rule it this way. Yeah, so this is what we have. This is what we have now. This is our crouch depth. This is our crouch length. Then the next thing to do is to get our knee point. To get this knee point, to measure the distance between here, between this crouch line and the rest of the trouser length. So for me, I have 25.5 here. For me, I have 25.5 here. So by the time I have it, I have 12.75. 12.75, but will come up by 0.75. That will make it 12 inch for me. So this is my knee point. Remember, we're trying to shape the trouser. That's why we need to get all these points so that the shape of the trouser will come out nicely. Now, after doing this, it's on this line that we will mark our knee point. So to get this, the midpoint of this, we measure here on the crouch 15.5. 15.5 divided by 2, that is 7.75 inch. So I mark that 7.75 inch and then I trace it down. So we'll trace it down this way. So this is the center point of our waist, of our trouser. This is the center point. Remember that we went in by 1 inch on this waistline. Then we'll curve it. We'll curve it to join the hip line here. So after curving, this is what we have. Let me cover this straight. I'm not comfortable with this one. Yeah, this is what we have now. So the next thing to do is to mark our thigh circumference out. Our thigh circumference is 24. So 24 divided by 2, you know the thigh circumference is, we only divide it by 2. So that is 12 inches. So we measure our 12 inches down here. We come in by 1 inch on this line. For our thigh circumference, my thigh circumference is 26 inches. So for this 26 inches, I'm going to be dividing it by 2. Remember, we divide thigh circumference by 2. So I'm going to be getting 13 inches. For the 13 inches, I'll mark it just below the crouch line. So this is what we have here. And then the next thing to mark is the knee circumference. Mine is 17.5. So 17.5 divided by 2, that's 8.34. I'll just make it 8.5. So 8.5 divided by 2, what do we have? We have 4.25. So we'll mark this with 4.25. Mark our 4.25 here. So the 4.25 will be on that midpoint. Then we'll mark it, then we'll mark the rest of our 8.5 here. Remember, we're adding an extension of 1.5, so we had our extension. Same thing with when we did our tie. We did our tie. So 12 inches, 13 inches, we add our 1.5. This is what we have. The next thing we measure is our knee circumference. Ankle circumference. My ankle circumference is 15, meaning that I'll be using 7.5. So 7.5 divided by 2 is 3.75. So I'll place that 3.75 points at the midpoint. Then I'll mark my 7.5 and then add my 1.5 extension. So after all of this has been marked, the next thing we do is to draw it out. To roll it out. To roll it out like so. So while rolling it out, I try to avoid having pointed edges. So for the pointed edges, I just try to blend it. I try to blend it out. So by the time we're done, I'm going to show you what we have now. So you can see what we have. So the next thing to do is to cut it out. So I folded the fabric over and I'm going to be using the front panel to cut the back panel. For the back panel, we are going to be adding an extra 2 inches. An extra 2 inches on the crouch side. This is to give the back full covering, the bum full covering, so that the bum will not be exposed. So these extra inches will only be on the crouch side. We are only going to be slanting it. We're going to be slanting it to meet the waist at this point. So that's one major difference when it comes to drafting the back panel for trousers. Because my client is a bit chubby. If the client is not as chubby, you don't have to go up to 2 inches. You can use 1.5. But for me, I'm going to be using 2 inches. It's better safe than sorry. So now that we have done that, the next thing for us to do is to add our extra inch. I'm adding 1 extra inch, no, 1.5, sorry. I just like to be safer than sorry. So I'll add 1.5 extra inch. You can add 1 if you want, and then I'll just rule it out. So this is the crotch extension on the back, and then I'm going to do the same for the crotch depth. Because to be frank, the bum needs more room so that the trouser will be comfortable. So I'll roll it. Then I'm going to join it to this line here. I'm going to join it to this line so that the crouch are meeting on the same line. So after doing that, we also do the same for the extra inch that we've added on top, the extra 2 inch. So this is what we have now for our back panel. The next thing to do is to cut it out. So I'm just going to do that, and then we'll move to the sewing. So after cutting, this is what we have. You can see this is the front panel, this is the back panel. You can see the extension. See the extension, this is the extension of the crouch line so that the bum will be well covered, and then all the way down to the crouch point, the extension. So the only difference is this extension, extra extension on the back, and then the extension on the waist so that it will cover the bum properly. And that is what we have. That's our trouser. So I'm going to show us how I cut my pockets now. So for the pockets, I usually go by 14 inches length and 7 inches wideness. So 14 inches length, which I already have here, and 7 inches wideness. 7 or 8, whichever one you want. I'll make it 8.5 because I'm still going to join it. So I'll leave it at 8.5, and then I'll just cut straight. So this is one pocket thing. I'll cut another part, the second pocket. So these are the two pockets which I'm going to be joining to the trouser. I'll show you as I go. So I'm going to show us how I sew it. So this is the front panel. Remember, we sew it on this crouch line like this, sew it together like this. We also sew the back panel on the crouch line as well. Remember that we left 4 extra inch on top for the band, so that by the time we fold it over, we get 2 inch in front, then 2 inches at the back, and then we fold that back by half of an inch. We fold it back by half of an inch. That is by the time we want to add elastic anyway. So the first step is sew this, and then after you sew the front panel together, the back panel together, then I'm going to show you the next stage, which is now sewing the front and back panel of each piece, then the front and the back panel of the other side as well, and then we'll attach our pockets. So like I said, I've sewn it together. This is the front panel. I've joined the crouch together. This is it. I've joined it. This is for the front panel. Same thing for the back panel. So the next thing to do is to place the back panel this way and the front panel on top. The 4 inches that we marked, we will now mark the 4 inch here. You can notch it if you want, or you can just put a mark on it. So I'm just going to put a mark 4 inches, as you can measure when you place it on the sewing machine, anyone you want. So 4 inches. So we're going to sew straight down to that 4 inch mark. We'll place our pockets inside this way. Place our pockets inside this way. And then sew it here to the front panel and also to the back panel. Once we do that, then we'll turn it outside. Bring it outside and then top stitch it. We will now top stitch it on here. You know, by that time it will be this way. Then we'll iron and then top stitch it so that it will be flat. And after we do that, then we'll now sew the rest of them. We'll join it by the crouch. The front to the back, and also the front to the back. So for our pockets, after we've joined it, you know, it was open, so we join the end and then we also sew it up. So the gap that will be from the top, I've made it 8 inches because, you know, men's hands, they are wide, so that it will give room for the hand. Do you understand? So if we turn it over, this is what we have. So this is what is going to be inside, and this is the point where we have to attach it so that it can sit into the band by the time we are joining the band. So this edge here can sit inside, can be covered by that band on top. So after we've joined it, the next thing to do is to place it so this is the front panel under, this is the back panel on top. So I will place it this way. So I've finally joined the pockets. I joined it separately, so it's standing separate. This is the inner part, and like I said, by the time we fold it over, it's going to lay on the front panel so that when we fold this is going to cover this head. So let me show you what I've done on both edges. Let me show you what it looks like inside. I mean on the outside. So on the outside, this is what it looks like. This is the front, that's the back, and this is our pockets. This is our pockets joined. Just have to lay it. You need to lay it flatter. So it's all joined. We can put our hand inside, and we have our pockets. You can see that. and I put it back again. So that is what I've just done, and then I top stitched it round to make it, look more neat and more flat. And so that's what I've done. So I'm going to go on to, so I've done the same on both sides. So now I'll turn it in and then join the crouch. When I was joining the crouch earlier, I left half an inch for the joining, because if you don't leave half an inch, if you join it to the edge here, it's going to, if you join it to the edge here and then not join the other panel to it, it's going to form one squishy shape under the crouch. So that's why I usually leave half an inch, and then from this half an inch, I join the front panel to the back panel on one side, and then the front panel to the back panel on the other side, and then I'm just going to complete the side panel that I'm yet to complete on this side, on the pocket side. So I'm just going to complete this, finish doing it straight down after joining my crouch. After that is done, then I will add the elastic band and we're done. So it's time to join the elastic band to it. This is the front, this is the back panel. So I'm just going to give an illustration of how I'm going to join it. I'm going to join the edge of the elastic band to the flap, the inner flap on the bodice. Then how do I get the measurement for my elastic band? My own method, after placing it like this, I'll press it down and then I'll just stretch it, starting from maybe 3/4 of the entire length. And when I stretch it, I will determine if I'm comfortable with the stretch. But this looks too stretchy for this exceed the length, so I'm just going to go in a bit more, stretch it. So it depends on what you want, but for me, I don't want it to be the way it is now. The length that the elastic band is now is not too tight, and at the same time, it's not too smart, it's not too loose. So I think I'm happy with this 1/4, like this, half and a quarter length. I think I'm happy with this. So what I'm just going to do, I'm going to fold it into two, because remember, we are going to be putting the elastic band all round, both in the front and the back. So we need half of what I've just done. So I'm going to, I folded it into two to get the round. So this is what I have. So this is the elastic band I'm going to be using for the entire circumference. Yes. Remember that we measured 2 inch. If you can still see the line, it's still faint. It's still there, but it's just a bit faint. So we are sewing this elastic band on the flap, and then let me illustrate on this side. On the flap here, we'll bring it down. Can you see what I'm doing? So this is the 4 inch here. This is the 4 inch here. So we will place it in between 2 and 4, like half of the band, and then just sew it on the flap and fold it over like so. I've pressed down half of an inch that we'll use for sewing, so that it makes it easier. It makes the job easier. I know that the folded edges are the part I'm going to sew down. So my point is, I'm not going to be sewing directly on the elastic. I'm just going to attach it to this, and then I will fold it over like this. Fold it over like this, and then I'm just going to sew this onto the fabric, not onto the band, onto the fabric. Do you understand my point? Sew this onto the fabric, ensuring that we have the same centimeter all across. You know, there's a propensity is bent because of the curves and all of that. So we ensure that we have the same centimeter all across. Then when I'm done with that, I'll close the bottom, and then that's our trouser.
So our trouser is ready to wear, just giving it a good shape. Can we have a look at the elastic? All sitting pretty, just putting finishing touches, removing all the thread. See our elastic band looking really nice. See it very stretchy, all nice and lovely. So this is the end of this tutorial. Thank you for staying till this moment. If you benefited from this tutorial, kindly click on the like button, give us a thumbs up, put in your comments, just to encourage us to continue putting out more benefiting videos, so we can all continue to grow in our fashion journey. And if you want to see how I made the top for this trouser, you can visit my other videos. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you are yet to subscribe so you can be notified when I upload new videos.